Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Moving into the Future. Today, we are joined by my good friend and coworker, Josh Flatt from Alexander's Mobility in California, Southern California to be specific. Josh, thanks for joining us today. I'm excited to have you on. How's everything going?
It's good. Thanks for recording this at 8 a.m. on a Monday morning on the West Coast.
I'll tell you what better way could you ask to start your week out there, huh?
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, why don't you tell me a little bit more in the listeners as far as, what you do out there? Because, one of the good things about all of our OMA partners as a whole is we've all got our different, avenues and areas of specialty and unique proponents of our companies and as individuals, that we bring to the table. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about what you do at Alexander's and what Alexander's does as a whole?
Yeah, you got it. So Alexander's, we've been in business for over 60 years. So full service moving relocation company. We specialize in corporate national account moving, and then also obviously commercial moving, national account commercial moving all over the country. We've got 9 offices around the US. And I've been with Alexander's for, 18 and a half years.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's where all the gray hair's coming from. And I do a mix. I know we've talked about it in the past, but I do sort of a mix of household goods moving and commercial moving, kind of just a little bit of everything in a way. I work with a lot of companies that are relocating their employees and doing their household goods, so that the national account household side. And then I do a fair amount of office moving and logistics, special products, and have sort of carved out a niche in sort of the sports relocation space over the years too. So working with a lot of teams, players, coaches, and one of our real close business partners to help athletes relocate.
Yeah, and that's an interesting world, and I'm glad you brought that up because when I first started in the industry, I wanted to create a focus in athlete sports relocation. I remember I went to a certification, and again, I was brand new. I had just started. I mean, this was my first job out of college, and I was trying to find like what I wanted to do within the relocation world that would make it fun for me. And I went to school for sports management. I had some relationships in that world, so I was like, why don't we try this first? And I remember I went to this certified move consultant certification program, and one of the things they talked about there was building accounts, and that was my biggest takeaway from that is like, okay, I need to go out there and find a way to get accounts. And I was 23. I had been doing this for less than a year. And I was like, we're going to focus on athlete relocation. That's luxury relocation. It's consistent because athletes are either getting traded or signed or whatever it may be. And, you can find a nice niche there. How did you get involved in that? And, was it something that happened naturally? Or was it something you actively pursued and focused on for a long time?
Yeah, so it was mostly, I would say, organic. I mean, what happened was it was, I think, 2008, and I was a young salesperson. I had just gone from being a sales assistant to sort of out on my own, trying to build my own book of business. And there was concurrently with that, I'm here in Southern California in Orange County, and in Newport Beach, there was a guy starting a sports relocation business at that time named Chris Dingman. And Chris had reached out to Atlas Van Lines and said, I'm working on building a sports relocation, kind of a relocation management company in RMC that caters specifically to athletes. And so he reached out to Atlas, and Atlas is headquartered in Indiana, but they sent him over to Alexander's because we're the top agent here in this area, said, hey, this might be a fit for you. And our VP of sales and marketing at the time said, this is such a unique, special, niche thing. Not sure what to do with this. Let's give it to Josh. He's young, hungry, sales guy. So Chris and I met, and he was starting his company, the Dingman Group. And we talked. I remember our first meeting. It was great. We met at Newport Beach Brewing Company out here in Orange County. And I was so excited, and we hit it off right away. Similar ages, similar interests, similar passion in terms of just how we, approach this, right? And it was a neat fit for what he was building because he's sort of catering to, as you said, kind of a luxury kind of clientele, high-end clientele. But it was such a fit for us for what we do with corporate relocation when we're moving a lot of execs and VIPs and that type of thing. So yeah, we hit it off. I said, hey, let's put something together. He was on board. And that first year, Jack, we did one move. We moved a hockey player from Dallas to Minneapolis. And then the next year it sort of built. We did 13 players the next year, 25 the year after that, 48 the year after that. Fast forward over a decade later, and we're relocating hundreds of athletes and coaches a year, and have worked on relocating whole franchises and done some pretty amazing projects together. So yeah, to answer your question, it kind of fell in my lap, but then obviously a lot of hard work and effort and relationship building with obviously a great partner in the Dingman Group to sort of build it over the years. And it is that sort of relationship where they are a client, right, at the end of the day, and but also I would say a close business partner and close friends. I think it's just a good reminder that like any opportunity, no matter how big or how small, you sort of treat it like it's that one huge opportunity, or make sure that that move or that client feels like they're the only, client in the world, and you can sort of plant that seed and then it can grow into something pretty amazing.
Right, and that's a good parallel to OMA as a whole. It started as this small idea with a group of moving companies, and now it's grown into this massive, really organization, probably one of the bigger moving organizations in the world. But pivoting back to the Dingman Group, Chris Dingman was like a fictional character in my mind when I was going through this process and ambition of mine to get in this world. I remember I used to study him closely. So to know that you know him, I didn't know that you knew him personally like that, and consider him a close business partner is really, really cool because it is such a, so when I started researching him, this was in probably like 2013 or 14. And by that point, he had really established himself as the premier like athlete relocation group out there. So I remember I wanted to be him. I was like, I strive to be like this gentleman. I think like, he was playing pro. I think he started with the Panthers or something like that. I remember I studied him very closely, about 10 years ago. So to know that you're such a close partner with him in that facet is really, really cool. How has Alexander's and yourself specifically, help them kind of scale and grow and become a valuable business partner? When you're doing projects, so you guys are the boots on the ground. And that's one of the good things about moving as a whole is we are providing the labor, and sometimes more often than not ourselves are there for our clients to make sure these moves go well and see what we can do. Have you guys created any sort of like KPIs for them or SLAs that are specific to athlete relocation as a whole? Because again, every athlete relocation is unique in some sense as far as, what they have and, whether they have a family or they're single or, anything it could be as far as collections that they might have. But are there certain things that you do, whether it be communicative or if it's process driven that you've helped kind of implement for the Dingman Group that's helped them better service their clients?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we actually put together some KPIs and SLAs several years ago that we work on together, right, to sort of monitor and look at all these different benchmarks: on-time pickup, on-time delivery, claims ratios, self-haul numbers, all of those different things to make sure that we continue to deliver at a high level for our clients, for their clients. That's been really, really key. I think developing that trust, establishing that communication, and sort of iterating on the processes, over the years has been absolutely key in making sure that we're all working together as sort of a seamless unit, our two companies, to service those clients. It's funny you talk about sort of wanting to get into that space over the years, because I think at the base level, moving, not a very sexy thing, right?
No.
what we do with logistics and relocation and moving, it's, it is what it is. But the thing that I talk to a lot of maybe our newer salespeople about and other people in the industry that I love is that you can kind of take what we do um, at Alexander's, at Advanced Group, OMA Agent, whoever you are, and you can kind of point that to whatever industry you're interested in, whatever sort of gets you up in the morning and makes you tick. Everybody needs our services at some point in their life, right? Whether it's household goods moving, office moving, special products, whatever it is, you can sort of become involved adjacently in your passion. And I've always loved sports.
Right.
At my core, I love helping people. So, sort of making this all kind of come together in that sort of, special sauce is really exciting for me. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of, whatever it is you're into, if it's music, if it's podcasts, if it's, sports, if it's um, uh, cooking, the restaurant industry, all of the architecture, whatever it is, you can get into it with as an avenue through what we do, and especially in sales, right?
Yeah, no, I was funny just having this conversation with my last guest about the various avenues you can go down in this world are limitless, really. I mean, it can go anywhere because, as you mentioned, everything, any room you're in, everything essentially comes off a truck, So somebody has to get it there. And, whatever your specialty is, and we know so many people with so many different specialties through OMA, you can find that niche. You think of Jacqueline, who's getting into like hoteling and hospitality and, providing that furniture. And like that is her avenue and she loves it and she does it well. And, the same goes for you for athlete relocation. And something that you also mentioned, which I think is key for being in the moving industry, at least if you're really going to, take it to the next level, is at our foundations, we just want to help. And, that is the thing about moving is it is a stress-inducing process for many people. So for me, it was always, okay, how can I help professionally speaking, where I can get satisfaction. And like I just fell into moving and that's why I've always really enjoyed it. No one likes doing it, but I do. And I take it upon myself to be that professional and expert that can help make that process a little bit easier, whether it is household or commercial. I've always been very, very focused on that. So with that in mind, can you tell a story of as far as, an athlete relocation that was unique? Because again, I have done some, when I was starting out, luxury relocation was where I was. So, I didn't necessarily move athletes, but I moved some extremely rich people with, various collections of art and sculptures and, pianos and all sorts of stuff that, at my age, I couldn't even comprehend how much it was. For you, is there any unique stories in that athlete world that you can tell that, come to mind and was really rewarding for you and challenging and things like that?
I think, yeah, I think that, first off, 80, 90% of, say, sports relocation that gets done is just a typical move, right? Sometimes maybe with an accelerated timeline because someone gets traded and whatnot, but it's not, um, 6,000 square foot mansions,
Yeah.
right? You're dealing with a lot of younger people. You're dealing, for a long time we're moving millennials again and again and again. And part of that, the neat thing I think about that for us, Jack, was for several years, I was sort of on the forefront of making sure that we got ahead of the game on certain things and trends that were coming that we saw maybe in the sports world that you weren't necessarily seeing in the common household goods world, but then started to become more and more commonplace. So for example, if you think back 10, 15 years ago, everybody was creating big screen TVs,
Yep.
right? You had a 60-inch TV, a 50-inch TV. That was an anomaly 10, 15 years ago. But then with a lot of the NBA, NFL players and everything we're moving, everyone had one of those. Everyone had four of them at a
Yeah.
certain point. And so I can remember distinctly going into our operations manager's office and saying, these things come in a box when they're delivered. Do we have to build a custom crate each time? Can we get boxes? And sort of banging that drum to make sure that that was something that we had on the trucks available. And if, then of course, fast forward to 2022, everyone's got, TV cartons and that type of thing that are used again and again. Texting was another thing that 15 years ago, we were not texting transferees. That was unheard of, but constantly with our sports clients, that is what they were demanding, right? If you wanted to get a hold of them, not even what they were demanding, it was just if you needed to reach them, good luck emailing, good luck getting them to,
Right.
answer
Pick
the
up the phone.
phone for obvious reasons, right? They're living a pretty guarded life. So I think the unique things there and the unique challenges there along the way have made us a better company because we've had to adapt to service that kind of clientele and just getting used to and knowing the fact that you will not always have access to the person who's relocating, right? You're not always dealing with that person directly. Most of the time, you're not. Usually, you're dealing with someone on the outside of their orbit
Right.
or within their orbit, and they have a very close circle of people that are sort of taking care of them and their life. And again, being able to sort of adjust to that. But there's been, certainly some unique things over the years with hyperbaric chambers and
Yeah.
saunas and
Yeah.
pretty unique equipment that you wouldn't necessarily see in your everyday home.
Yeah. And again, that's like, those are the fun challenges though, is, getting those out. I mean, in New York City specific, like I remember, there would be custom couches and custom furniture as a whole that wouldn't get up the elevator and couldn't get up the stairs. So we'd get the, crane in there, to deliver it on the roof. And it's nerve wracking, but it's also a fun
Right.
challenge to make happen. And then when it does happen, the client is very pleased. And again, you look like an expert in your field and, somebody who can be relied upon. How has being involved in that athlete relocation world for you transitioned into commercial opportunities, working with more, whether it be sports franchises or agencies or things of that nature, that are advantageous in the commercial world?
There's been some pretty incredible projects that we've had an opportunity to partner with together, Alexander's and the Dingman Group, in relocating some franchises, which was a heavy mix of moving all the players and coaches and staff, their household goods, but also literally moving all of their uh, office furniture, moving all of their game day equipment, everything like that. So talking dozens and dozens of truckloads of things that you need to have that sort of that mix of household and commercial experience. There have been some really cool projects recently with moving some bands. So some pretty pretty big name bands on tour, relocating, doing tours and stopping at the airport, picking up their stuff. We actually had one. You talk about OMA specifically. They were on tour last year. They stopped off in Austin, Texas, and that was not a stop that we had lined up originally when we were lining up stuff with the road manager, and it came about last minute. I mean, it was like they were landing on a Thursday, and they called us on Monday and said, you know what, could you do Austin for us after we had done like 6 or other cities or so? And I've got obviously as part of the Atlas network, sure, certainly a thing, but also part of the OMA network. And OMA came through. OMA came through in a huge way for us when they landed there, and we were able to turn it around like that, and it was seamless. So some really cool stuff like that, where it's been phenomenal to be part of this. And Alexander's is relatively new within the OMA network. We've only been in for a little bit over a year. So to have that trust and that partnership and that bandwidth, right, to just call and know that you are going to get this executed on so quickly and successfully has been amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's really one of the things that I appreciate the most from a personal standpoint is you want to be the greatest resource you can be for your clients and being opened up to that OMA network. And again, when you make that call, you're taking in as a priority. Like this is something that my client needs. And again, it's all within reason and rationale. We can't jump through hoops constantly, but there's always ways we find to make it happen for our different partners because A, we care, and B, you never know when that's going to come back, to you. And especially in those different markets like we're in with, Southern California, Austin, Texas, New York, there's always different challenges, and those are places where people want to be. So to have those reliable networks and resources built in a phone call away makes a world of difference. And again, it allows you to have a strategic advantage over a lot of other people in your market that they simply don't have, because they're not a part of a network like OMA that makes it possible for them. So I certainly know what you mean. I'm going through that right now, as a matter of fact, with a project I have going on for a large tech company. They came at us with 600 users, need to be relocated this weekend. Actually, they came to us 2 weeks ago, and we're planning a 600-person organizational shift, and we're making it happen. And I went down there myself last week to kind of walk the space and figure it out. And again, that's that personal touch and extra effort that is needed and recognized by these type of companies to make it happen, and our partners as well. It's not like we're going out there leaving them, out to dry. We want to make this go as successful, as you do, and vice versa, to make sure these clients are happy, because again, it's all reciprocal. It all comes back. And we're one of the things that has happened in OMA since I've gotten in, well, like myself personally, I've gotten back in 2 years ago, is just the level of trust and even respect and relationship building that we've had throughout the group is really great. I know more people now within the industry and within the group than I could have ever imagined, and that's really special. And that kind of parlays into our young leader group, which has been really great for us as a whole, and I think a little bit more than we could have imagined, as far as the relationships we've built through that, and how we're continuing to make it grow. What has been probably the biggest takeaway from the young leaders group for you so far since you've gotten in? Because you're the elder too, you and Pat. You guys are kind of leading the way in terms of experience. So what has been, really the biggest takeaway from you and the young leaders group?
I've loved getting to collaborate with and chat with other young leaders in that space, who are all kind of like at a similar point and similar ages in our lives, excuse me, where having the same challenges. I mean, being in that room in DC and having everybody sort of talk through, hey, what's going on about, you name it, right? Whatever is going on in your company, or that, at this point in your life of, I've scaled my business up to X, but I feel like I can't go beyond X because I'm doing so much and whatnot. And hearing that everyone's sort of going through that same thing. I mean, there's not misery loves company, right? Because we're not miserable. But just the camaraderie of feeling where we're, okay, you know what, we're all in the same boat there. And that's a common challenge, because I think that we talked about it a little bit. We become a victim of our own success in a lot of ways, right? Where it's, I made, I would say, a name for myself, and I got very successful by being very accessible, right? Saying to my clients, hey, here's my cell number. Whenever you need me, night or day, I'm going to be there. And that is great. And I mean, I still feel that way when building, building relationships with my clients, because I do want to be there. I do want to make this a seamless process for them, whatever they're going through. But there's a certain level concern about scalability when you are sort of the end of the funnel on everything, right? And you get to a point where you say, like, I can't do that all the time. And for me, I learned that real fast once my daughter was born. So she's coming up on, my oldest is going to be 10 next month. And I realized at a certain point, okay, I'm going to be, when she was born, I was going to work, doing 8 to 5 or whatever it is, or you'd work longer days. And she would go to bed at like 7 o'clock at night. And if I was working till 5:30 and then I got home at 6, it's like, wait a minute, I got an hour a day with the thing I love most in the world. That's not okay. So I had to sort of switch up what my routine was. And I, carved out the evening time after work, and I said to clients and I said to coworkers, hey, from 5 to 8 or whatever it is, I'm going to put the phone down. I'm going to put the email away. I'm going to get back up online at night and I'm going to be working and I'll be there for you. But I kind of have this blackout time for my family. And that was received really, really well, thankfully, right? And but that was sort of one of the things that forced me to say, like, okay, I don't have to have my foot all the way down on the gas and keep going 90 miles an hour sort of in life and in business. And I can kind of, downshift a little bit, find other times in other areas. And that sort of, pivoted into how I was able to, scale a lot of stuff from a business standpoint. And hearing some of those common things in that room with the future leaders, it's just fun to be a part of.
Yeah, it is. And again, it's like it is a support group in some sense. And it was good to hear that, a lot of us kind of do deal with the same issues across our different markets and stuff like that. Specifically in the range of support and just really spreading yourself thin. And I think that it's a young person's problem, professionally speaking, where they do feel the need either to be on all the time or to do as much as they can, do more than they can handle, because that is how people with a particular work ethic prove themselves. It's really going above and beyond, whether it be for the company that you work for or for the clients that you have. So to see, a lot of us deal with that is interesting. And one of the things you just said too was as far as like having kids and that transformative experience. I was talking to you before about how I took a road trip upstate. So I went with my best friend, and he has a 2-year-old with another one on the way in like a month. And we took him upstate so his wife could get a little break and relax, before the next kid comes, which was nice. But I was essentially playing Mr. Mom all weekend. And it's awesome, man. Like, first of all, he's a great kid. Like, he's a good kid. He's a 2-year-old, so he has his certain,
Sure.
just whatever. But it's awesome. And like, I'm at an age now where I think my mom had me at my age. So it's like, I don't have a girlfriend, so I'm not having kids anytime soon. But I could see how, like, having kids is such a like revolutionary experience. And like, what's it like when you have a kid and how you work? Because you want to work harder because you want to provide everything for that kid, and
Right.
really like do as much as you can for them to provide everything. But you can only work so hard because you want to spend time with your kid and stuff like that. So, how are you able to do that? I'm always fascinated by that. And another thing I'm fascinated by is the fact that I don't have a kid and I have all this free time on my hands. Like, I should, logically speaking, be a millionaire by the time I do have kids, because I got all this free time.
Yeah, you look back and you think, man, when I was single, what was I doing?
Right.
What would I do? And what would I do with all that time now? Right? You're like, oh man, I could kill it. I just grabbed from my little folio that I carry on walkthroughs. I have this note from my daughter. This doesn't translate too well on an audio setting, but it says, "Dear Daddy, may you please take work off so you can spend time with me. Please, Daddy, love Harper."
Aw.
And she wrote, I mean, this is probably 4 years old, but I kind of carry it around with me as sort of a reminder. Like, literally, if I'm out on an office walk, I open up my to take notes and my cube sheet and everything, and that note's right there, right? So it's metaphorically, it's like this perfect sort of balance of personal and work, and a reminder of like why we do what we do, right? I've Yeah, it is, to answer your question, Jack. It is, it takes a while, obviously, to sort of figure out that, that balance and that tightrope act. And I don't know if we ever necessarily figure it out. We just kind of, um, you know, constantly improve on it. But my 6-year-old, my boy Beckett, will ask me weekly, he says, Daddy, when are you going to stop working so you can play with me? And it makes it makes me feel like an awful father. But I also know that, like, I'm very, very present. I'm at all of this stuff. I take part in drop offs for school and pick up, or take him to camp or anything like that. So, and for him right now at 6, conceptually, summer, like he has the summer off. Daddy doesn't have the summer off.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
he's like, I got to go to work, buddy, but it's summer, and it's like for you, summer's our busiest time.
Right.
But no, what I try to do is, I, I make sure that there is time that is sacrosanct, that is just family time, and I don't take calls and don't do emails. And after they go to sleep, I'm back up working. When we go on vacations, I'm getting up early before the whole family. I'll be doing work in the hotel room. Then it kind of shut it down for the day. Maybe check in once, during the day, and then after they go to bed, kind of get back on it. So you have to certainly, work harder and smarter in order to sort of balance it. And also, I would say making sure that you like I try not to beat myself up too much, right? So getting that sort of messaging from him, like, hey, when are we gonna play more? Realizing that, oh, you know what, you're doing a lot, you're there with them. I try to mix it up too. So I bring them out with me on job stops
Oh,
whenever
cool.
I can. So
Yeah.
if I have a delivery going on a Saturday, and I know it's sort of the appropriate setting, because obviously there's certain things you wouldn't bring kids out to,
Right.
but they've come out with me on office moves. I've got pictures in my phone of us doing like a decommission, and they're sort of writing on the whiteboard in an office that's been, and it's fun for them. And I'll make sure that they come and bring stuff to the crew, because obviously anytime you go and you want to take care of the crew, bring Gatorade, bring food, just show your appreciation, and sort of instilling that in them. That's been a lot of fun too.
Yeah. And I can imagine become a far more efficient individual, like, that you simply don't have downtime, and like I have that privilege of downtime right now, but it's fascinating because, again, like I'm probably not going to be a father for a couple more years, but God only knows. But even still, like I think to myself now more because I see my best friend in this world. I mean, he's got number 2 on the way, and I talk to him every day. So, I'm part of his life and his wife's life and everything like that. So I think to myself, when I do have this downtime, I'm like, what can I be doing to be more efficient right now? Because it isn't always going to be like this. I mean, it's nice to watch whatever, a show or a game or anything like that. But is there something else I could be doing with my time that if I didn't have it, I wish I did? You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, no, being conscious of that is good too. That self-awareness of, this free time, this luxury isn't going to be there forever, and making the most use of it now. I will say, when you have kids and there's a lot more laundry in the house, my pro tip for you is on your conference calls, do conference calls, put the, AirPods in, and just fold laundry during conference calls.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
It's a good life hack right there.
That is a good life hack right there. You can get that done pretty easily, and again, it doesn't take too much thought, so you can focus on the task at hand while still doing that. You know what? That brings up another point. That's like one of the things I don't mind, cleaning and like doing whatever chores. But I always thought a great invention, specifically for socks, would be if you could throw like socks in a machine of sorts, and they just like folding themselves up into one, and like they matched them up and stuff like that. Cause that gets, daunting. So, that's a good little tip there.
Socks are the most annoying, I agree.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. And it's just, yeah, and matching them up and stuff like that. I can't wear non-matching socks. So like if I have 2 non-matching, I got to throw them out. It's a, whole thing.
Business idea. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, right. So yeah, that could come on down the line. But I got more important stuff. Specifically based on what we were talking about at the OMA conference, and like, that type of technology. That's what I'm really focused on, is creating some level of seamlessness within our industry that goes from like not a CRM, but like attached to the CRM, if you will, where the job is booked, it's in the system. It's almost like a automated coordinator, if you will, because I think that's where a lot of the issues lie, from what I heard, is like the coordination, the project management, like getting that all done seamlessly. It seems like a lot of the people in the Young Leaders Group specifically are doing a lot of that work themselves. So I think technology that can kind of help you, coordinate and manage a job and then bill that job more seamlessly would help moving companies, across the globe operate more efficiently. And, whether you're a small company, I shouldn't have said across the globe, across the board, operate more efficiently. in that set, because I feel like that is a big pain point within the industry right now.
It definitely is. And I also think that, so as great as automation is and making that more seamless, I mean, that's needed and there's going to be a lot of value there. There's a certain element of the process that you can't automate. And the thing that jumps to my mind is, I think it was your podcast with Kevin. And I even took a photo of like when I was listening in the car, where it was in the podcast. So I could kind of go back to it. It was like minute 29 or 38 seconds or whatever. And you guys were talking about one of the things that you do when you book a new job is you sort of huddle up with your coordinator, Caitlin.
Kaylee is her name, and Kaylee, this is her last week this week, and like she's the best. And again, it's not a it's she'll be replaced, and there'll be a new coordinator. But the trust and like the relationship that you have with the coordinators in your company, it allows you to do more, while they do what they need to do. So it's oh God, I'm gonna miss her terribly.
And I remember you saying that with Kaylee, you kind of huddle up and say, okay, here are the details of the move and the project or whatever it is, but also here's why this is important to that client. Here's why it's important to us as a company, right? And
Yep. Oh, yes. Yes.
kind of a little bit of Simon Sinek here, but kind of leading with the why, talking about why it's important. I love that. And it's something that I do sort of naturally sometimes, but not all the time. And I was going to implement that into our processes to say, hey, here's why this matters, right? And you can make that into a process, but you can't automate that, right? And it's like you can't automate caring, and you can't automate sort of that desire and that want to for helping folks. And I think that is so huge.
Yeah, specifically as it relates to national accounts, because again, when you're a moving companies for the most part are transactional. They do a move, they book a move, they do the move, they get the move paid for, and then they move on to the next move. But when you're an account-based business, you are looking at the whole and how you're going to grow that. So that's what I try to do with my coordinators, with my project managers. If we're doing our first job in New York, here is what's at play, because I know what's at play and I know what I'm focusing on, but I want to make sure everybody knows that. And basically, doing that and saying, hey, this is why this is an important job. Here's what we want to turn it into. And getting that buy-in all around. And then ideally, the project management is also telling the crews this, and like it's all, going down the line. So there's that complete buy-in. So, to make sure that, that things go, to the level we want. And I was thinking about this week, and I was actually, my best friend's also in the moving industry. He is a GM of a moving company in the Hamptons, does great work. But we were talking about it, and I was saying, our moves, I've been doing a ton of work, and the moves that we've been having this summer have just been like popping, like operating, and just clients are happy, and it's like great. And I mean, this, and everybody in this world knows this. That's not always the case, for one reason or another. And we've just been operating. I think that's a big reason why, is because people know why these jobs are important, and it's not just another move. It's an account that we're going to try to grow and help the advanced group, take the next step. So it's been majorly helpful. I'm glad you picked that up, because I hope that's able to help you too.
It was a great tip. And I, like I said, I've been doing this for coming up on 20 years now, but, and sort of doing that kind of organically, kind of naturally, just as part of my nature, but, to put it in as a process and sort of feed that forward to other people in the company was just a brilliant takeaway. I loved it.
Yeah, great. Well, I'm glad you got something out of that, and hopefully others get something out of this, because this was a really great conversation, Josh. I appreciated it. I appreciate you a lot. We've certainly gotten to know each other mostly over the last year, but I really admire you. I think you're a great guy. You do good work. So, I'm excited to keep growing together and, take it to the next level. We'll have you on sometime soon again, and we'll catch up. We could have kept going with this for sure, but we'll make sure we pick it up again and have a good conversation. All right.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And likewise, I'm excited to keep doing this with you.
Definitely. Have a good one, man. I appreciate you coming on early on a Monday morning. Have a great week. Have a great day. And I'll see you later this week.
All right. Thanks, Jack. See you later.
Thanks everybody for listening. Looking forward to the next episode soon.